Wow.
When is the last time that
is
you've
fun.
seen a kid do this?
Never.
It's supposed to be unhealthy, yet
Yeah.
here we are.
Hey guys,
Loud
loud guys. Today we are going to watch the dangers Gen X faced. So Generation X is from 1965 to 1980. So I always loved sitting with my grandfather and talking about his time and what he used to do, and even my parents, like how what happened with them. So you get very interesting things. Then when they tell you that they bought these things for 1 rupees, 2 rupees, and for them 5 to 10 rupees was more than enough to live a very happy day or 2 3 days, then you feel what was that time. And then they used to tell, we always think what used to be that time when they didn't have TV, they didn't have cell phones. And how we see even kids of today, when they're born they have an iPad in their hand. But when we were born, we didn't have iPads, but we still had TVs. So we were watching TVs, and also what before us those people were doing. They were having good social life, I think so.
If I talk about my grandpa, so he always used to compare his previous time with current time in terms of quality in foods and in prices, that we were having pure milk, pure veggies, and now you are eating veggies of chemicals and pesticides. So he used to always, appreciate his time, not ours.
Yeah, so that's how it is. Normally people do this only.
We are going to do same thing.
But this
in
video
future.
might tell us what are the dangers of Generation X and what they face.
Dangers.
Because we, what we are doing, we're saying they had a good time. But we are not seeing what they had bad or what was the problem they had. So let's see this
Video.
If you grew up as Generation X, then it's probably a miracle you even survived.
Oh,
At
why?
least that's what the modern
Pyramid.
world tells us.
Used to make this in school.
Many of the things that were normal back then are now taboo. In this video, we will have a look back and wonder how Gen X kids even survived. Television wasn't everything, but it was still pretty important.
Oh, you
If
had
you were a kid
television
in the
in
70s, then you
1965.
probably did not even have cable.
Oh.
Most people relied on a television antenna, which was usually rabbit ears and tinfoil. However, there were some households that used an antenna that was mounted on top of the roof.
Wow.
Every so often, this antenna would need to be adjusted thanks to some wind or weather.
Oh, I remember this.
became a
Even in India,
family
we used
affair.
to do this.
To do this.
Dad, of course, was in
Not
charge of the
working.
pictures, so he was right in front of the television. One of the kids would be up on top of the roof and ready to receive instructions from the relay of the rest of
is
the
it
family
coming
spread
now?
out from Dad. No one ever thought anything about kids being on the roof and then falling off. Most kids got up there anyways just to get a better view of the neighborhood or the stars. Many newer roofs are much more steep, and that might be considered child abuse to send your kid up there. I guess it's a good thing that people don't have to deal with antennas on the roof. Summers as a kid were always fun, and why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
You were out of school, and that meant you could spend more time with your friends. But with all that running around outside, you were bound to get thirsty. There's nothing quicker and more refreshing than a sip from the garden hose. Of
Garden
course, you
hose?
had to let it run a while before it got cool enough to drink, but it certainly had a distinctive taste.
Wow.
When is the last time that
is
you've seen a
fun.
kid do this?
Never.
It's supposed to be unhealthy, yet
Yeah.
here we are. But occasionally, I still take a sip from the garden hose.
From directly the garden pipe?
The garden hose was also connected to a couple other activities that parents today may consider them to be too dangerous. The first one was the slip and slide. The older editions of the slip and slide were a little bit more dangerous, and some kids broke
Now
bones or
everything
chipped
is
teeth on
dangerous.
these, but just about everyone slid
The
off
world
the
is
end or over the
cautious.
side and got a grass or rock burn. Believe it or not, they still sell these, but they are a little bit safer. This next item, however, I'm not so sure about. As kids, we all enjoyed playing in the water sprinkler, but some of these sprinklers could be pretty rough.
Oh.
This one in particular was really dangerous. It had a solid steel base that could certainly hurt if you stubbed a toe on it or fell on it, but that wasn't the dangerous part.
Oh.
When the water ran through the sprinkler, it would move the metal fan blade at the top.
Oh.
At that point, it was like a little saw blade that was spinning fast on top, and it could cut through little water-soaked toes and feet. Kids were fast learners, though. If they got cut
Against the
once, they would be
corners.
sure to clear it the next time.
It was a
Kids
bit
in our day
dangerous.
used to be outside a lot, and we
Yeah.
loved it. That worked out great because
I
most
played
of
this
our
game.
parents really didn't want us inside the house anyways. As a result, kids spent a lot of time out in the sun. And sunblock? We had no idea what that was. Are you talking about a
No
hat or a
sunscreen.
shade
Well,
tree?
I don't apply it.
At most, we may have depended on SPF 4, and that's only if we were super cautious.
Oh.
Everyone was exposed to the sun, and many of us would compare sunburns at the end of the day. When our skin
That is
started
not a
peeling,
big
we would
thing.
see who could peel off the biggest flake. Oh look, that one looks like Texas. It also wasn't uncommon to see teen girls and young women laying out and trying to get that golden beach tan.
Tanning.
Quite often, they would speed up this process by using either coconut oil or tanning oil.
Oh.
Today, most kids get lathered up with anything from 30 SPF to 100 SPF.
I don't know the difference between 30 and 100.
Same.
Parents in those days certainly didn't have to watch us like the parents do today. They not only trusted us, but they also trusted our friends and the rest of the community.
Oh.
Parents realized that we needed to do things on our own, and that was how we were going to learn. However, if they were watching and we happened to get hurt, there was no doubt that they were going to be laughing as long as it wasn't life-threatening. Bikes were everything to a Gen X kid, and they provided us a freedom that we couldn't get from anything else.
Yeah.
Even to me.
We could go on adventures that were hours away from home, and for the most part, our parents had no idea where we were at.
Wow.
We also used our bikes to jump some pretty shady ramps. We could do a lot with some plywood
done
and
this?
bricks, and it was hours of
Not this.
entertainment.
Bicycles.
As we look back
Thoughts,
on our
man.
childhoods and compare it to modern kids, it's hard to believe that we did all those bike adventures with no helmet or knee pads.
Yeah, at that point of
This
time. you
picture
do
pretty
this.
well
Oh.
sums up the generation. This kid is jumping his bike off of a super tall ramp. Notice that he has no helmet, knee pads, or elbow pads. Just pure fun adventure. If this evil
That
Knievel
time was
lands
just
short,
free.
then the kid on the end is in trouble. And occasionally that did happen. As you look at the kids on the side, you can tell that they are worried about this because they've seen it happen themselves. But the best part about this photo is there's a dad sitting on the front steps and he's smoking a cigarette while he's waiting to see who gets hurt first. For him, this is as good as any gong show on television. Back in those days, cigarette smoke was everywhere, and you couldn't avoid secondhand smoke if you wanted to.
Really?
In fact, most of us had at least one parent that smoked.
Ah?
Oh.
Parents would send their kids into convenience stores to purchase cigarettes while they waited out in the
Oh my
car.
God.
Usually the clerk would just look out and get a nod from the parent, which would signal that it was okay to buy the cigarettes.
Wow.
Oh.
If the parents were not around, then the kid probably needed a note from the parents saying that it was okay to buy the cigarettes.
A note from the parent.
These notes were
Please
never all
let
that
the
official.
daughter
It might be
purchase a
written on a
pad of-
notepad, scratch
Wow.
of paper, or the
Wow.
back of a receipt. Dear clerk, please sell a carton
You
of
forgot to
cigarettes.
give my daughter a
Thanks,
cigarette.
Mom. Can you believe that
This is
actually
crazy.
worked?
But
There's
the
no
writing
chance
looks like
that
a
kids
kid.
could ever do that
He
today.
has written that.
Car safety was something else that most people didn't take too seriously.
Oh,
In
yes.
the US, it became mandatory that every car manufactured after 1968 had to have seatbelts installed in them.
Ah.
But wearing them was more of a recommendation rather than a
wow.
requirement until the mid-1980s. Until then, we stood up on the front seat so that we could see up over the dash, and our dad's arm was our seatbelt and the airbag.
Yeah.
Another thing that we would do is lay up on the back dash and pick our noses as we looked at the cop car behind us. We thought it was super fun when Dad
You
had
know,
to slam on
these
the-
things happen in India till now. Like, because we also have rules, but as far as I know and as far as you guys might know, that Indians don't follow that much of rules.
No.
So you will still see like kids going at the back and they're always like looking into the other car and then sitting with their dads. And even more dangerous is some like dads even make their kids sit on the lap. Even I also did that when I was small. So like my dad made me sat on the lap and then I used
But
to
not
drive the car.
in the car, also on the bike too.
On the bike too. So these things still happen in India. So we are living in that phase. I know in 5-10 years, like these things will go off and India will also get a bit stricter. But yes, and I even saw one video of US like where people were like, there was one woman who was told that now seatbelt is compulsory and you cannot drink drive. You know, they used to drink and drive previously. In USA, but then there was an announcement that okay, drinking and driving is not allowed.
Even
So-
in India, it's not allowed, right?
Yes, but in US when this announcement came, so they were like, no, this is the right of our independence. How can you steal it from us?
Oh my god.
So that's how people took it. So that was very interesting video.
I'm on the brakes and we came flying out of that back window and slammed into the back of the front seat. Back then, we had to learn how to take a fall, and the crazy thing about it is we couldn't wait to get back up there and try it again.
Yes, they were very hard people.
Pickup trucks were not as common as what you see today, and people that had boats would haul them with regular cars, even Cadillacs.
Wow.
And when Dad needed lumber, it was going on the roof of the car so that it could come home. He would tie it down a little, but it was still our job to help hold the lumber down
This
as
is also
it was
illegal
stacked
in
on
India.
the roof. So there we were, standing up on the
Whole
seat,
tree.
halfway out the window, clinging to the lumber on top, while Dad had his hand on our waistband to keep us from falling out. Somehow his other hand was busy holding down the lumber on his side, which is pretty incredible to think about. At the same time, he was also steering the car, shifting gears, and smoking a cigarette.
All
It's no
things at
wonder
once.
that we thought he could do anything. Remember some of the other activities we did? We all had toys that are considered dangerous now, but back then it was completely normal.
Like
Lawn darts was one of those toys.
darts, yes,
That
darts are very
I've
sharp.
played.
point could
played.
penetrate anything if you didn't get the heck out
Throwing
of
it
the
on
way.
floor. I've thrown it in
Clackers, click-clacks, or knockers had the possibility of shattering and sending shards of plastic flying through the air like shrapnel.
Oh, we
Yet
didn't have
somehow some of these clackers survived. In fact, here is my pair from the 70s.
these. Oh, nice. Oh, this is like kanche.
Back then, we learned how to entertain
Little
ourselves with the
greenish-
simplest of things. Do you remember making long chains from soda and beer can pull tabs? According to
played
what
the
they say
telephone
today, we
telephone.
could have been badly
With that
cut at
cup.
any moment, yet most of us had minor cuts, if any. But one dangerous activity that we all did was kite fighting. Remember
Kite
this
fighting.
one?
Kite fighting
You
is
would fasten
dangerous.
razor blades to the
Not.
side of your kite and then
We
swoop
have a
it down
whole
so that you
festival
could
about
cut
it.
the string of your friend's kite. If you were successful, then that kite would keep flying forever. But if your kite took a nosedive to the ground, then you better be quick and get out of the way of those razor blades. BB guns were another item that was quite common. Kids could go all over town with one on the front of their handlebars, and the BB wars would certainly get intense. Back
You know,
then,
they
we
have small
definitely did not
bullets
have safety at the
that
top of our
hurt a
list
lot,
when those broke
but
out.
it's enjoyable.
Firecrackers were certainly a lot more accessible than they are today.
In India, it
seemed
is
like
still.
you could pop them off in every city, and it was perfectly legal.
used to, burn it in
Did
the
you
hand
ever
and then
set
throw
off
in
some
the air.
fireworks and then
Our
place
kids.
them into your Tonka truck and roll it into the driveway where some neighborhood girls were playing jacks so that you could get their attention? No? Well, I guess that was just me then. Speaking of jacks, they were definitely something painful to step on if you were barefoot.
Ooh, ball
Any
and
parent
Jackson.
today that complains about a Lego being stepped on has probably never really stepped on a jacks.
What are jacks?
These things would completely
pains,
hide in
so
the
if you
shack
step on
carpet,
these,
and they were
it is
like little
painful.
soldiers that were
Oh.
waiting to ambush you. With all that time that you spent on the bicycle, then
Oh,
I'm
yes.
sure that you probably came in
Yes,
contact
the
with
pedal.
at least one of these.
Ah,
One slip of the foot, and this pedal could travel up your leg like a vegetable peel.
yes, it hurts.
It hurts.
Kids today know nothing about that level of
Very
pain.
harsh.
Even in my time, I used to have that.
Here is something else that could be really painful. These chairs were really comfortable to lay in, but when you got up, you had lines going all across your skin. But that wasn't the worst part.
We didn't had these chairs. We had manji, a place where you could sleep. So you have that in every village in India. Still now you will have that.
It's lovely to sleep on it under the starry night.
But when you wake up, you are like there is a
Here, and
threads
even
going
on
on.
cheeks.
in your full body.
You had to bend them all the way in so that you could adjust them further out. One wrong move and the hinges of these torture devices could snap down on you like a bear trap and
Torture
take off a
devices.
chunk of skin. Are these chairs even sold today? Despite all the dangers that were lurking all around us, it really was a special time to grow up in. People were friendly and neighbors were someone that you could count on. Some of the dangers that we see today are completely different than what we faced.
There were some things that I could relate, but there was something that we felt like, okay, that is only in America that you could find. But even the last part, that chair part, we have what I told you, that manji. So it is basically a big bed, but that is made of
Made
that,
of that,
thing
stuff,
only.
huh.
So you use that, and actually that also used to come like this. So if it is not in center properly, it can come up like
Come
this,
up like,
and it can
huh,
fold you in
stuff,
between.
huh.
So those things are very interesting. So even he's saying that okay, that time was very peaceful, but as far as I know, I've seen all the what serial killers and every bad people from that time only, 60s, 70s, 80s. So there were dangers in that time also, but yes, it was very beautiful time.
Very beautiful. Also, if we talk about now time and we are comparing, suppose, then I feel that they were, very free. They were not, thinking more about, what if I fall down, what if I, lost. Because as he was saying that our parents even didn't know that where we are roaming. And they were just totally free. And now where you are, the cost and all the precautions, even in the car, seat belts, all safety. That means it shows that world is becoming more dangerous and dangerous day by day. Because at that time I felt that people were free, like even the parents were not worried that much. But now if you consider, and the crime rates are increasing, now I think everything is changed, and even it will change in the future.
And we are becoming more protective and more concerned about everything. Like people, like hearing my grandfather, like I went there for 30 days and I could not contact your grandmother, and then after 31 days I came back. So like to believe that my grandmother was also very patient. She was not writing him letters or anything like that, and she waited for 30 days, then she met him. So, and she had the trust that he would come back, and he also was doing his work, and he might be doing anything, then he came back. So I think so that were those things, like you could just go out and do whatever you wanted to do with your time and thing. Today it is always like, even with kids, what we see is like mother and father continuously, hey, what are you doing? Hey, come on,
they
do
need
this.
to know everything. They are not leaving their kids alone. They are not, letting them find out the things they like and to explore. They are just telling, even if we talk about the religions, they are not letting them explore the religions and what are the beauties of. They are like fixed. You are Christian or you are a Hindu. You have to follow this. You have to do this. Even if we talk about food, that at that time I remember my mom used to say we used to eat anything, like any fruit or any parathas, like Indian cuisine you can say. But now we are very specific, like in breakfast we need to have smoothie, and at that time even they were not thinking much about the food. They were still healthy. And now if we talk about the food and we are like very specific, the salads and this and that, still we are not that healthy.
And like he was saying, like they were drinking water from garden pipe. We can never imagine doing that. So what are your thoughts about it? Do let us know in the comment section below. So do like, share and
Subscribe.
bye.